You're too kind. No, honestly, you're too kind. Thank you. So great to be here at Replay Guitar Exchange. What an incredible store, right? What a great resource you have here in Tampa. And wonderful, you know, educated guys that have been in the business a long time. So that's incredible. And of course, you know, everything that you could want and choose from. And I feel very privileged to be here for Yamaha Guitars too. And Mandy, our area rep, is back there, and she's awesome. So if you ever get a chance to talk to her, she's a wealth of knowledge too. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about what I do as a guitar instructor and, you know, performer, but I work for a company called TrueFire, and I've produced 22 DVD programs for them over the course of 6 years. And they're the biggest online instructional company in the world. And I personally like to bring concepts to guys like yourself that maybe don't have the time to practice that much, but give them a nugget or information of something that they could go, I could use that and I could do it quickly, right? So my thought process here tonight is I'm going to spend about, you know, 30 to 45 minutes giving you some ideas, all right? And I'm just going to give you, and I'll pose questions too, and I like these clinics as well to be interactive. So if you have a question, please ask, all right? Don't be shy, ask, because if you ask in the moment, I can answer it fully for you, okay? So I'm just going to check my guitar here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up with what I'm going to show you as I'm doing that. And what I like to start a solo with, for example, is I like to reference the melody, for example. So if you're playing a song and you're cued to play a solo, what typically happens for us guitar players, we come in off the bat like strong, right? And we not necessarily know where we're going to start, what's going to go in the middle, and how we're going to end the solo. Would you agree with that? Would that be a commonality between us? And what I like to say to guys is, well, how about you reference the melody, all right, for 8 bars, then you take the solo, and then you come back to the melody, reference the melody again, and that does a lot of things. It cues the band, right, that you've come back out of your solo. And it also gives you a soft place to start and a soft place to end, right? It gives you placement of what you're doing and an intention, right? And I think if you've got intention towards your licks and your solos, you'll play more intentful solos. All right? So I'm going to try and get that across to you today, but I'm going to give you a ton of different ideas as well. All right? As we do it, I'm going to shift things across the beat. I'm going to get you to play 3+1 kind of ideas and develop your motifs and let the chords do the work. And I'm going to change the notes as you go through the scale. I'm going to do a ton of things with you today, right? And I think you're going to dig it. Ain't no sunshine when she is gone. It ain't warm when she is away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Sunshine when she's gone. It ain't warm when she's away. Okay, so do you get the concept of what I'm talking about? So I'm starting with the vocal melody, referencing that again on the guitar, eases me into the solo section, 8 bars of that. Then I take it somewhere else. It's my solo, my 8-bar solo. And then I come back out, which, you know, again, it cues the band, tells everyone where you're at, and also gives the audience something that they can hook into. Would you agree that hooks are really important, not only for vocalists, but guitar players, drummers, whoever's playing? Absolutely. And, you know, here's the thing that I say to everyone that I teach guitar to. What you've got to remember is your audience isn't a guitar player most of the time. It's someone who just appreciates music. And I think what's happened to guitar players is we've made it a competition. And when you make something a competition, you set yourself up to fail. Right? And when you play music, you go out there to entertain and enjoy it. It's different. Okay? I didn't come here to impress you guys. I came here to give you some ideas. Does that make sense? All right? So knowing that you know that now, you can ask me questions, feel safe in the environment, right? Because I'm not here to impress you per se. I'm here to help. So what I'm going to do now is, everyone got that concept, right? Now, I'm playing around a tonal center. This is an E minor based progression. And I guess my scale of choice would be E minor pentatonic plus the E minor scale, because there's the 9 in this melody, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to develop this a little bit more. I'm going to play an idea. I'm going to play it 3 times, but each time I play that idea, I'm going to change it just a little bit, all right? And then on my 4th phrase, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I call that 3+1. And what that does, it takes out the equation again. Oh God, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? You're developing motif ideas. All right. Then I'm going to shift it across the beat and see if you dig that. All right. So here's playing the same thing again, but I'm going to do it from a solo standpoint. So do you hear the idea? What I'm talking about is where I'm referencing the same melody, changing it slightly, and then taking it, the 4th phrase goes somewhere else. Now, is that an 8-bar solo? Could I say, okay, I'm done, that's my solo section? I could, right? I mean, you could do an 8-bar solo, you could do a 16-bar solo. What I'm doing is keeping it concise so you get the point. So what we're doing is we're developing a motif, all right? Would you agree I played a similar line 3 times, all right? Okay. Now, that last phrase then says, okay, guys, I'm going to take you on a little bit more of a journey, or I'm going to crescendo and I'm going to end my phrase. Okay, so how then can we make that even more interesting? Now, do you guys know anything about melodic and harmonic rhythmic displacement? So moving your phrases across the bar. Right? Now, a lot of guys, when I work with them, they will play on the downbeat a lot, right? They'll play a lick starting on the downbeat. And to me, it's like when you clap on the downbeat, it's very lumpy, right? But when you go, it has groove and feel, right? So what I advocate is, why don't we shift our phrases from being on the downbeat to the upbeat? Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to play on the downbeat first, this similar phrase, and I'm going to shift it to playing on the and of 1. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to play it on every and of every number. So and of 1, and of 2, and of 3, and of 4. Right? So count with me if you want to and see if I'm being honest. Okay. So check this out. And it, you know, I know it's a simple thing, but it's going to be incredibly powerful for you guys, because when you change where you place your phrases, what you've just done is you've maximized your potential. If you keep them in the same place, they've done nothing, right? But if you move them, they have a different effect because the note choices sound different against the harmony as well. Okay, so let's check that out. So on the downbeat. On the end of 1. On the end of 2. End of 3. End of 4. Get it? Okay, so was I being honest? Right, and doesn't it feel really cool? Right? So the idea here is, instead of coming out the gate on the downbeat, not knowing what to play, be intentful. I'm going to play off the end of 2. You know why? Because it's how I like to phrase. And, you know, I'm being very modest here, but I do get compliments on my phrasing, which is cool. But I've worked on it, and I've hello? The rock stars are in the building. Watch out. Oh, God, they're at the front, too. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so phrasing, if you think of music or solos, if you want to think of your music as a guitar player, you've got notes, right? And you've got rhythm. Are they equally as important? Very much so, right? So if you're working hard to choose the right notes, you should also be looking at choosing the right phrases or how you phrase or package that. Someone last night asked me, what is phrasing? And I said, it's your rhythmic delivery of the melody. Right? And you choose what that rhythmic figure is based on your phrasing tastes, okay? Now, I just showed you a few ways of doing that. So what I'm going to do is then I'm going to take that and I'm going to do it again for you guys, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to play phrases off the end of 2 and see if you dig what's happening, all right? So when I'm saying end of 2, if you guys don't understand what that means, is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? So I'm going to play off the upbeat as opposed to on the downbeats. Okay. So check that out and see what you think if I'm playing phrases off the and, if you like the feel of it. Okay, so did that feel good to you? Okay. Who is that? Well, here's the other thing. When you're thinking in 2-bar phrases, you have given yourself a reference point too, haven't you? I don't know how many times I've said to guitar players, okay, take an 8-bar solo, and like a minute later they look up and they go, was that it? And I go, yeah, 108 bars. Guitar players typically have no reference to how many bars they've played, how long their solos are. You know, the guys that meander and meander and then they're saying nothing. What I'm saying is play with intent, phrase your ideas, right? Reuse your ideas or repackage them with a little motif change, okay? Move them across the bar. There's a lot of information here that if you use it will be very, very powerful for you, okay? Now, if I'm phrasing in 2-bar phrases, it gives me reference, doesn't it? Here's one of them, 2, 3, 4, done. Or I go again and I do 16 bars. But it's a great way of doing that. Now, the other thing that I like to say to guys is, I scared him, is that you phrase towards the tonal center. Now, does anyone here know what the tonal center is? You do? You know what the tonal center is? What is that? No. No. The tonal center is where your ear hears the resolution point. Right? Now, that when we talk about modes, you've got 7 resolution points within one key, haven't you? So it's not the key, it's not the root, it's the tonal center of that chord progression within the key. Okay? Now in this case it's E minor, which is going to be Aeolian, if you want to look at it that way. What I like to do is simplify that and say it's E minor, and I'm going to target my phrases towards the tonal center. Right? Because if you target your phrases towards the tonal center, you're saying to everyone, I know what I'm doing. If you don't do that, you're kind of hoping that you're going to hit the right places. Okay, so how do you make sure that you hit the tonal centers? Well, know what it is first of all. So let's just listen. Okay, I'll play it without the track. Okay, so here are the chords. Now, if I walked off stage right now, would everyone be okay with that? I could say good night, everyone. It's resolved, right? My point is, we're hearing where the tonal center is. Would you say that was resolved, right? Okay. Now, if I did this, are you waiting for me to go back here? It's unresolved, right? So when you play towards the tonal center, it means you're being purposeful or intentful towards targeting that, which means I don't care what the second chord is, that's color tone stuff, right? So if I target my phrases towards that tonal center with intent, phrasing and everything else, it will sound purposeful and like I'm meant to do it. Okay. Now, what are the notes in that chord? E, G, B, and D, right? So they're your sweet notes, they're your resolution points. They're all the notes in the chord. And if you hit one of those on your intent and your phrase, it will sound cool. If you don't, it might not. And I'll give you a clue on that. Well, actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to each one of those tonal centers or each one of those resolution points. And then I'm going to do something else, and I'm going to see if you guys dig it, and I'm going to ask you why it worked. Okay? So I'm going to do five of them. So let's see if we can make this work. Okay, so resolving to the one here, so the E. Okay, now to the G, the third. Now to here. Work. What about this? Okay. What did you guys think of all of those notes? Did they all resolve?
The last one didn't.
Yeah, actually it did. But sorry? Half steps are really cool, and that's another thing we can talk about too. I love half step bends, and I'll talk about that. I think that's a really cool thing that you brought up. Tonal center is the resolution point. So modes are all about tonal centers, and what people get hung up on is the fact that they go, well, I'm playing these chords, should I be playing Mixolydian here, Dorian here? And I go, no, phrase towards the tonal center. What is it? Is it Dorian? Is it Mixolydian? Is it whatever? And once you understand that the resolution point or the tonal center is where your ear hears home, you're good to go, right? And if you understand that those chords come from that key, you target the phrases towards the tonal center, and you're golden, right? And I'm going to show you that in a minute with another. I'm going to branch off in a second and show you something I think is going to probably change your melodic world. Hopefully, right? That's the hope I have that I want to share with you. But so this idea, so you said to me, well, that last note didn't resolve. Did it sound funny to any of you other guys, the last one?
No, it sounded
interesting, right? Well, the G would have been our minor third, right? What I played was the 9. But here's what you got to do. You got to look at the chord. Now, is the 9 in my chord? Right, there's the F sharp, right? So if it's in my chord, it's a resolution point. So here's the other thing, guys. When you look at your chord progressions and you're resolving to tonal centers, if a note is in the chord, it's a resolution. It's a chord tone. And if it's a chord tone, you can land on it and resolve there. And I don't care if it's a sharp 5, a sharp 9, or whatever it is, it will resolve. All right? Now, we're not hearing this overly clearly in this chord because it's lower in it, right? And I'm playing an upper voicing of that on it. But actually, it sounds, I think, really cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play to the 9, and then I'm going to do the minor bend to the minor third. So talk about the minor bends, or the, you know, the minor second bends. So let's do this again. Are you digging where I'm going with this? Okay, cool. I'm going to break it loose in a minute, and I think it's going to be really cool for you. But anyway, lots of ideas to think about. So. There's my minor bend, right? Okay, so you've got semitone bends almost everywhere across the fretboard, but bending them into chord tones is going to be really powerful. So you saw me bending the 9 into the flat 3, etc. So, and the 9 now is starting to sound more familiar to you, isn't it? It's not like, oh, that's not working. It's sounding like it will. So anyway, so just to recap on these things, if you play with intent, play phrases towards the tonal center, resolve to chord tones, i.e. notes in the tonal center chord, right? And then if you want to, use melodic motifs, reuse the motif but change it slightly, move them across the beat. How many ideas have I just given you to try in your own licks, right? Because I think what happens to guitar players, we have stock licks, don't we? We have muscle memory stuff. And we tend to play the same things. There's nothing wrong with that if you start shifting them across the beat. Or what I'm going to show you in a minute, place them somewhere else. Right? What we do is we double or quadruple or maximize everything that we're doing. Does that make sense? You know, and that's a really good point. So the other day I was doing the same kind of clinic, and a horn player said to me, yeah, you know, guitar players don't have to breathe between the notes. And I said, no, and that's the problem we have. Because we never shut up. And what I'm saying is, you know, phrase a two-bar phrase, say your thing. If you leave a beat and a half before the next one, you've given it space and air, then you deliver something else. So to me, it's a really good idea to think in terms of maybe a saxophonist or a horn player where you go, all right, here's my statement. I don't have to always be talking. You know, what we don't say is sometimes as important as the stuff we do, right? And sometimes the stuff we say gets us into trouble. So I'm a big advocate of phrasing, space, delivery, right? And if you say it with intent or know who you are and what you want to say, that makes a big difference too. Just meandering through a scale doesn't work. Not in my opinion. I think it just sounds like a load of old, you know, twaddle. But, you know. Okay, so great point. So think about it. Breathe in between your lines. Okay, so I'm going to move on to something else. Now, if you're playing a melodic motif, for example, and the chords change under that motif, will it sound different? Should we find out? Okay. And then we'll expand upon that tenfold. Okay. So let's see. So there are 3 chords. Thank you. Thank you. So you saw me starting out with a really simple motif, right? Or you could say it was simple. There was some string skipping in there, but not much. So the idea is I find a motif that I like, and I let the chords do the work. Why have I got to be doing all the work? Right? As guitar players, what we do is we go, I'm going to say something, and oh God, I better do something else because someone's watching me. That's how I feel about it sometimes. It's like, well, you're a guitar player and you're taking a solo, so you should probably do something. Right? If you're working, you should be seen to be moving around, right? You can't be sitting at your computer quietly doing something. So my point is, why do we have to always struggle to get the most out of what we do? All right? So if you find an idea, why don't we let the underlying harmony work? So if I'm playing the D major scale over that D, first chord is a D, second chord was a B minor, and the third chord was a G, right? So all very different chords. Now it sounded great against the D, right? Had a different feel against the B minor, and then again against the G. But it still has a tonal center back to the D, didn't it? Still felt that it was coming home each time. So I'm going to do it again. Check out what I'm doing. I'm going to stay right here for that first melody, all right? Now, then I'm going to move up here. You remember I moved up here on the fretboard? Anyone notice what I did? I played exactly the same pattern, but in a different location. And what did it do? It gave me different notes. And those patterns and those shapes are everywhere in your scale shapes. And I'm going to prove it to you in a minute. I'll play some. The whole solo pretty much was that, doing that. Moving shapes within shapes. And the same notes as the chords change. And the same notes. So watch what I do again, okay? Is there any other instrumentalists in here other than guitar players? Have we got bass players? Okay. So all this stuff is applicable to bass players. What do bass players sometimes do? They underpin chords, that chords move, and you play like a pivot chord or pivot note, right? The effect is amazing, isn't it? Or can be. So we're kind of doing the opposite to a degree. The chords are moving, we're staying still. All right, so think about that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the reverse. We'll do what bass players do in a second too. Right, so check this out, and then I'm going to explain the next bit of what I was going to do. Okay, so I'm not doing anything crazy hard, right? I know you have guitar players probably come in here and do clinics that are crazy on the fretboard. But I'm saying you don't have to be to get music out of your guitar. And I'm not about playing flash stuff. I can't play flash things. I play musical things, right? And so I'm advocating to you guys, if you don't have technical finesse and technical skills, you can still make beautiful music. Are you with me? All right, it's not a competition. Again, if you compete with someone, you set yourself up to lose. So own what you do what you do it with, confidence and make music. So I'm advocating that with simple ideas. So I played my motif here, then I moved it into another pattern of my major scale, using the same rhythmic phrase, didn't I? So you've got a hook rhythmically, but you've got different notes. And so what I'm saying is they're everywhere in your patterns. So I'm going to do a couple more just to show you and kind of accentuate that over this. And actually, first, before I do that, did anyone notice what I did on the first lick, first idea? Listen again, see if you can see what I did. Anyone notice what I did with the phrases? On the last one I did, but what I was talking to the guy, I don't think you were in the room at the time, but what I was saying was a lot of people play phrases off the downbeat of one, and I'm advocating playing off the end of one, the end of two, or whatever. So the first phrase I played squarely on the downbeat of one, the second two phrases were on the end of two. And it had a different effect. I didn't do anything with the notes, I just changed where they were placed. And I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it totally different. I'm going to play the same phrase, but I'm going to place it totally different places. So. I decide where I place those phrases. I don't let my fingers tell me. And a lot of guitar players let their fingers tell them where they're going to play the next note. And I say, no, you've got to take back your power. Would you agree with me that that happens to you? Right? It's muscle memory. So what happens is you fly into an idea and you're not saying anything new and you wonder why. It's because you're going through the motions. And what I'm saying as a musician, feel it, don't go through the motions. Because I had control over that. I said I was going to do it and I did it, and that's intentive, right? And talk to you about intent. Start listening to your phrases, and when you hear a phrase you like, bring it right to the fore, milk it for everything it's worth. The stuff you don't like, forget about it. There's not enough time in the world. Take the good stuff, put it right out front. I unashamedly play the way I play. And people can either like it or hate it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm okay with it, all right? Because I think if you've got a personality and you go out into the world, be honest and truthful about it. It's who you are. Say it how it is, right? You can't argue with that. If you try to be Yngwie Malmsteen, you're going to fail because there's only one of him, right? So be who you are. Be intentful and play the things you want to say. This instrument doesn't say a word unless you make it say something. Would you agree with that? If I'm not doing anything on it, it's not saying a word. I have the choice of what it says. And I think if you bring that to the fore, you will become a much better musician quicker. Right? And don't worry about what anyone else does either. And because I don't hear the notes of the phrase, I hear the rhythm of it. Because phrasing to me is the rhythmic delivery of your melodic message. Remember I said that? So in my head I might hear like, you know, I mean that's crazy, but you know what I'm saying? In my head I'm feeling this thing, I'm feeling this rhythmic movement. As a bass player, you know what I'm talking about. You're feeling where you want to place those notes. Again, it's a choice. A bass player is trying to hit where the kick drum is, right? And then play fills in between that and nice leading notes. As guitar players, I don't think we listen enough to that stuff. Okay, I'm going to do something with you. I'm going to play this phrase again, and the run I do at the end of it, listen to where I place it. Okay? Just check out where I place the run at the end, because it's important. I know it's going to come in the track. Let's do this. that last run, where did I place it? I played it on the drum fill. And when something's underneath your notes, what's it doing? Supporting them. Why don't we do it more often? No, but if there's a drum beat and you're playing on top of it, it's supported your notes. And if you follow that rhythm, what you've done is just enhanced that. And especially as a guitar player, listen to Steve Lukather. He does that stuff all the time, right? He'll play this run and it's being supported either by the bass or, you know, a pad on the keyboard or something. But what he's doing is he's saying, okay, I'm intelligently listening to where I'm placing my notes and it's my choice. And it might be something like that. Let's say, for example, I'm playing this live with a band and I say to my drummer, you know what, when I play that melody that's part of our song, why don't you follow my line there? Why don't we talk to our musicians like that and say to the bass player, hey, tell you what, could you just hit the octave when I do that and just hold it, right? And the drummer does the fill and you play the notes on top of the fill. That to me is magic. That's when music starts happening, not just playing stuff. Does that make sense? So I think really start listening and tearing apart, or really listening to what's going on around you, and let the chords do the work. Move your phrases, play them with intent, target the tones, right? Target the tonal centers. I guarantee your world as a musician will change dramatically. And if it doesn't, I'll give you your money back. It's free? Yeah. All right, I'll pay you. No, but I feel that passionately about it, and it's something that's, you know, I really feel like I want to share with you guys, right? So the tonal center of this chord progression is D. We've got D, B minor, G, goes back to D. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play all of the tones of the D chord, but I'm going to hang out there and just kind of meander around them. I'm almost play like Dave Gilmour. Not I'm saying I'm going to play like Dave Gilmour, but in that flavor, if that makes sense. The third of the chord. Here's the fifth. Here's the root. Nothing flash, right? I'm letting the chords do the work, but I'm targeting the right tones, okay? That's kind of how Gilmour's playing. He's going, this note works over all the chords. Why don't I utilize it? And then he's putting feeling into it. And the other thing I think we're scared to do sometimes is reveal ourselves as musicians. You saw me pull all sorts of funny faces right then, right? Because I wasn't thinking anyone was in the room. It's okay to be passionate about music. Right? It's okay to dig in and rake the strings. It's okay to bend the notes like they're out of control. It's okay. Do it with intent, yes. Do it melodically, and, you know, go from there. How much time do we have? Because I want to get to some other things. How are we doing?
It's 20 hours.
Okay, so how much time do we have? Till 7? 20 minutes. Okay. You want me to play some other guitars, or can I do some different things? Okay. All right. I just want to share something real quick with the guys, okay? And then we'll wrap that and move into acoustic guitars and stuff. Okay. We were talking about muscle memory. Now, if you're if your hands are controlling you, how do we take that back? I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to play over a different progression. It's in the key of D still. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cycle through the key of D, the tones of the key, all right? So I'm going to do this. Watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to play a lick. Then I'm going to go to the next tone of the scale and play a lick. Then I'm going to cycle through each note of the scale, playing a different lick. See if you think it breaks the muscle memory up. So I cycled through notes of the scale, right, giving me different ideas and different phrasing opportunities. And I have no choice but to play something else if I'm not used to starting in that place. Yeah, and you can start anywhere within it. I just did it there so it was obvious. You could start ascending, right? It could be any of these things. So how did that sound to you guys?
Would you be able to do that again so now
Yeah, yeah, I'll do it. What I'll do is I'll play up, descending through the scale, say to here, and then I'll ascend from there back, okay? So let's start from the beginning. So, how did that sound to you guys? Did it have melodic movement and, you know, phrasing and everything else? So how did that feel? Felt real good. Well, cool. So there's another idea, and it doesn't have to be the major scale. It could be pentatonics. It could be whatever you choose it to be. I'm giving you an idea and sowing a seed that you can now take and make your own. It doesn't matter if it's jazz, folk, blues. Well, it doesn't matter, right? It's a concept. And what I've delivered to you tonight, hopefully, is some concepts that will expand maybe just thought. Or, I'm going to think about that next time I play. I'm going to try that. And I guarantee if you try that when you get home over a backing track, you're going to go, oh, I might like that a little bit. Okay? Because it's going to break the habits. Not that the habits are bad necessarily, right? You might have some really good ones. But you then employ this with it. Right? Okay. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to play some acoustic guitar stuff as well and sing for you. Because, believe it or not, we are here to tell you about Yamaha guitars as well. And I feel very privileged, as I said earlier, to be associated with Yamaha. And I love this guitar. This is the RevStar 720. And it's a mahogany guitar, all mahogany back, flame maple top. And they're Filtertron pickups. Do you guys like the sound of this guitar? Yeah, it's cool. Now these filtered...
This is new to your TrueFire, your last lesson.
Yeah, and then the next one coming up. So a lot of this stuff that I'm teaching you in this session today is coming up in my next course called Lick Logic. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. But yeah, it sounded great on the double stops course, right? So it's a very versatile guitar with the Filtertrons. And I think if you're a classic rock kind of guitar player, this is a great fit for you in between, you know, having a Les Paul, you know, or a Strat or whatever. You've got the Bigsby, obviously, is giving you shimmers and trem if you want it. But these pickups sound incredible. Now,
I thought that when I saw that guitar in your last TrueFire chorus, I thought, well, that's a home brew from Nashville.
Right. Right, yeah. No, I mean, I've been using this for a little while, but I really dig it. It's got a 13-inch radius, which is super, you know, easy to play, chunky neck, very stable, and it's got locking tuners as well. But the other cool thing about it, and you were hearing it tonight, it's got a coil tap, but it's not really a coil tap, it's a bass cut, and it's called a dry switch. When you pull this out, it basically gives you a bass cut on the pickups. So you can thin out the sound a little bit if you want that. All right? And I think it gives me more harmonic richness in the overtones. If you kick it in, it's, you know, it can get a bit fatter. So let me just let you hear a little bit of that. So this is without it. Hear the harmonics? Hear that start to sing in harmonics? I love that. And that's these pickups. Now if I push this in, here it's fatter. I mean, this is the guitar rocks. Right, it's a great sounding guitar. Going direct. Yeah, and that's going through Helix, so line 6 Helix. Anyway, so an incredible guitar, and really, you know, for $7.99, it's probably one of the best buys, I think, on the market, quite honestly. All solid timbers. And just incredible, very stable. And I think it's a guitar that you probably don't have. And I think that's the key when you look for a guitar. Should I just buy another one, the thing that I've got? In my book, no, I think you should have guitars that you can use for different applications. And I think this is guitar potentially that you don't have. Okay, and I'm not just saying that to sell them. I think they're amazing guitars, right? So anyway, I hope at some point we might have some electric guitars here at Replay. I'm not sure how that's working out, but if you dig it, maybe tell the guys, and you know, maybe we could make that happen too. Okay. Any questions on the guitar itself? Do you like it? Yeah. Okay. So it sounds great. Does it look great to you? Okay, so I think that's a resounding positive on the guitar.
Does it come in different color finishes?
Yeah, you've got different models, so they range in models from a 320 up to an 820. And each one of those guitars has different features, different humbuckers, different finishes, some are flame tops, etc. Right? So it's worth checking them out. Go online to Yamaha.com and find that out. Or talk to Mandy back there. She's the rep, so she can help you out too. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some of the new Yamaha acoustic stuff, because you may not have heard any of these things. Now this guitar here is pretty amazing, so I'm going to play it unplugged first, because I want you to hear the fact that it's got reverb and chorus in it, even though it's not plugged in, which is pretty amazing, right? Do you believe that I can do that?
How does that work?
Well, we'll find out, right? I'm going to let Dave speak into that in a minute, because he'll probably be able to explain it to you. But there's like a gadget inside the guitar that Yamaha have developed, and it will give you reverb and chorus without being plugged in. But you can plug in, you can tap into that as well. Okay. So. Do you hear the reverb? Okay. So I'm going to play it a little bit for you. No. Well, Mandy, can you explain the tech behind it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a piece of metal piece in here called an actuator, and essentially it's picking up the vibration off the guitar, sending it through a digital signal, and kicking it out. So it'll go through the plug.
Yep.
Plug it in. So we had it plugged in there originally, but I think the effect is much cooler to hear it that it's coming through on its own.
It's not like a reverb plate built in.
It's got
Yeah.
reverb, and it's got chorus.
So I'm going to put a bit of chorus on that now too, okay? Now, what's the benefits to that? Well, for me as a singer-songwriter moving from Nashville and when I was going to writing sessions, what makes you play better, guys? When you sound better, right? So if you're inspired by the sound of a guitar, I mean, this guitar I think sounds amazing unplugged anyway, right? I mean, did you hear how responsive it was? If I dug in, it responded. If I backed off, it had nuances, right? And I think you should look for that in a guitar. And the bracing system in these guitars is scalloped and will give you those nuances. So anyway, here's a little bit of chorus too. Right, so it's almost like a simulated 12-string kind of thing happening. So let's pick it a little bit. You know, could you just, you know, for me, could I justify getting this guitar just based on that? You know, because to me that's like, okay, if I was starting to write a song, let's think about this. All right, here's a song idea maybe. Kind of sounds like an electric guitar without being plugged in, and that to me is really inspirational as a songwriter. Right, so I think it's an incredible guitar, and it sounds the same when you plug it in, right? So you've got all those attributes amplified as well. You guys want to hear it plugged in too?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I okay to unplug? All good? Okay.
What price point is that?
$9.99, and it's all solid. So it's solid goes with magnetized, solid means through top.
Yeah. Does it come with a case?
Yes.
It does. It's included. Okay. You did for it. Ooh. We've got a bit of compression and stuff on it. Turn the effects off. Yes, there's reverb and chorus on here. So that's without the whoops. So that's without the chorus on there and without the reverb. Okay, just the acoustic guitar. As I tell a joke or two, oh, I may be laughing out loud and hearty deep inside. I'm good, so take a good look. You see my smile looks out of place. If you look closer, baby, the tracks of my tears. I need you, need you. I need you, need you. Since you left me, right? And that's so. Thank you. It's here somewhere. Throw it on the stage. So I mean, that's without any of the effects. So when you start adding that stuff in, obviously, and you know, everything that you would process it with if you wanted to, I think it's pretty amazing. And the other thing I say to guys is when you're buying an acoustic guitar, find something that doesn't overpower your voice. If you're a singer, the last thing you want is a guitar that overpowers you acoustically, right? Okay. So anyway, cool guitar?
Oh, yeah.
Right, so check it out. We are okay to hang a little bit afterwards, right? If people want to just check it out and talk to you guys about it, is that cool? Okay, so please do. I mean, it's here for a reason, right? Pick some of these guitars up and try them. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay.
It's amazing that they can build that sound into it with the chorus and the reverb.
Oh, yeah, but acoustically.
Yeah.
Right, I know.
No,
I just think it's amazing. Okay, so anyone curious about these guitars? Okay. Now this is the silent guitar, and it's not actually silent, but that's the name they give it. And for good reason, if you're someone that wants another guitar that can play live, that is not going to give you acoustic feedback. Right, there's no sound hole, so you won't get any feedback. So you can play an acoustic guitar at whatever volume you want to. And I've played the nylon string version in a rock band without any feedback. It's not going to happen because there's no way for it to happen. So the other attributes to this guitar, it has an auxiliary input, which means you can put an MP3 player into it, and it's got a volume for that. It's got a headphone jack, so you can put headphones on. It's got reverb, 2 reverbs and choruses in it. Okay, it's got a built-in tuner, volume. It's got a pickup and a mic model in it, so you can blend the two things. And it's got bass and treble. No, I'm being totally honest. And the thing about this guitar is, it's the ultimate guitar not only for performance loud, it's also ultimate for performance quiet. It runs both spectrums, doesn't it? So if you've got your headphones on, you've got stereo reverb and chorus in your headphones, and you can't hear it, or your wife is not going to, beat you up. So can we just mute it a sec? Sorry. I mean, no one's going to hear that if you're playing, right, or you're finger picking, but you can hear it in full glorious stereo in your headphones with your tracks. So let's say you're playing in the green room, warming up before your gig. You get headphones in, you got your tracks running, you're playing your set, you're warming up. Awesome. Here's the extra cool thing, and I'm going to play it in a sec. Of course I'm going to play it, but... So the strap buttons here that I'm unscrewing, see these strap buttons? That comes off, and it goes in a tiny gig bag that size. There isn't a plane company in the world that won't let you put in that in the overhead. Agreed? Right? And we've had problems with that stuff as musicians, haven't we? And I'm in horror every time it happens. So, incredible. This is all hardwood too. Right? This is not plastic. This is molded. All these guitars are made from mahogany. I mean, the figuring on the wood on here, there's also a tobacco sunburst version of this, all right? And there's also a natural version of it. So... Well, for balance. So let's say we take this off. It's going to feel awfully funny, isn't it? Because we've got nowhere to put the arm. And I think really because we're traditionalists at heart, You've got a kind of, you remember when the Steinberger came out? It was kind of freaky, wasn't it? And like no one knew how to balance the thing. It was like, what do I do with this? All of it. Yeah, absolutely. And even here. And here's the other thing, guys. Anyone here play acoustic guitar but is really an electric guitar player? Mainly. What's the other thing that happens to us when we pick up an acoustic? Our shoulder comes round like this. We're exacerbating this stuff. There's a lot of things going on physically that impair us, or could. This doesn't do it, does it? It's like an electric guitar, but it's giving me the tonalities of an acoustic, which I think is absolutely amazing.
What's that model called?
Well, this is the silent guitar. What model would that be?
It's SLG 200.
Yeah.
And if it's steel string, it's S, nylon, it's N.
So we've got a nylon version here as well, which I'll pick up in a second. And I've actually got 2 of these, and I've played them in various settings. But, you know, if you're more of a steel string player, obviously this would be the obvious choice, you know. So let's see what we've got. Do you mind if I put a little bit of something on it? Put it on. Do it. Okay, so. And no feedback. You could turn that all the way up and it probably wouldn't feedback. Well, the mic might, right? But you're not going to get any problems with that. And I think that's just incredible as a live performer. At my acoustic gigs, when I'm playing out, I have that problem all the time because I'm in... You know what it's like? When you go into a venue, what do? They stick you in the corner with no room. So you're right there by your speakers and everything starts feeding back. And then they go, well, we can't hear you at the back of the room. Turn it up. It's crazy. Yeah, of course. No, there are no bad ideas. Yeah, of course. Okay, so if you're a blues player. So ultra versatile too, right? So again, we've not got any problems. If we're cranking the gain, no feedback. So it's the ultimate silent guitar, ultimate loud guitar.
Would you record with that?
Yeah, why not? If it sounds good, could you? And I think that, you know, this is DI'd, right? Again, so it's we're not playing any tricks. So
What gauge strings do you use on yours?
on this guitar or this.
Do you have a steel string version of that?
I don't. I'm using the nylon versions. I'm probably going to get one though, because I see the value in it. I see the value in having one, and I would use 12s on it. I would use a 12 gauge. Yeah, if you go heavier than that, it depends on what you're capable of, right? I think it comes standard with 12s. Yeah. And you could, and you'd probably set it up a little lower, right? And you could do all that stuff. Again, I think it's a taste thing. And here's the thing, guys. Why do you buy an instrument? Because you would use it for what you want to use it for. I always say to guys, why did you buy that guitar? And they go, well, because so-and-so's got one. Well, it's one reason. Why didn't you buy it because you wanted it? I don't get that. I always say to people, get what you resonate with, and if it works for you, it works.
If you don't mind, I'll say something because I've been selling guitars for a long time, and when customers come in, a lot of times when they're buying their first electric guitar, and they see 700 guitars,
Exactly.
they don't know where to start.
No.
It's just like me when I started. I asked them, well, what kind of music do you like? Do you like any guitar players? Who do you like? I like Jimmy Page, so I got a Les Paul. Now, it doesn't mean I've discovered all the other great guitars, but when you're trying to figure out your first electric guitar, it's sometimes you just, if you like electric music, get one that you're familiar with the tone.
Right.
And so that's why I get people to help them pick out that first guitar.
Right.
Sometimes it is related to your experience. Where's your first exposure to the electric guitar, and who was it, and how much of an impression was left on you? And is it enough that that's the type of instrument?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you've struggled with that first instrument or it didn't help you say what you wanted to say, go in search of what that is. We're so influenced by everything, right? So who our peers are, who we look up to, everything else. And then who maybe sells us a guitar and everything else. What we need to start doing is saying we're individuals and we make our own choices, like me choosing my notes, my phrases. Let's start doing that with the stuff we buy too, right? We're not puppets. Just, do your own thing,
Who was your influence when you were?
Lots of them. I mean, I wasn't really a guitar player when I started. It was more, I was listening to Ella Fitzgerald and The Who and, rock bands and stuff. But I love people like Mike Landau and, John Mayer's incredible. There's so many great musicians out there. I think it's all valid. I even like Lady Gaga. It's music. And if it moves you, it says something. It doesn't have to be guitar for me. It could be anything. So
Those guitars had to hold up to some tough stage.
that's right. Yeah, but he can afford it. So this is SLG 200, and it's got the steel string, so S. Okay. And what was the price point on this again? Oh, it is? Okay, yeah. I didn't... Okay, so 629.
Wow.
Yeah, and it comes with the case that I was talking about, right, that it folds down into. So, yeah. And again, guys, before you head out, check one out. All right, I think there's a couple of steel strings, and obviously the nylon. So I'm going to pick that up real quick. And again, don't forget this guy, right, with the reverb and chorus in it, so, which was amazing. And look where it goes in the back here, right? So everything's ergonomic. You can get to everything. You can see everything. Tuner on board, everything, right? It's pretty cool. Yeah. Super lightweight as well, so that's amazing.
For $700.
Well, less than that, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the tobacco sunburst that I was talking about, but the nylon string version. And everything that's in it is exactly the same as in the steel string version. The effects, the headphones, the auxiliary. All of that is in here, bass and treble, the tuner. So it's that, but obviously it's a nylon string sound. So I'm going to take the distortion off. Is that okay?
Is that neck wider?
Okay. So there are two models of this. You've got a normal width nylon string, and you've got a thinner neck for guitar players that maybe not used to the normal width of a classical guitar. I actually have the normal width one, and I prefer it because it makes me feel like I'm playing a nylon string guitar, which makes me play like a nylon string player. Does that make sense? I think it's a psychological thing sometimes with that stuff. Okay, so let's see. So let's sing a little bit with it. Why don't we do that? Yeah. And we're going to wrap it in a minute, guys. So if you have any questions, either about what I talked about earlier or about the guitars, happy to answer them. We're going to hang a little bit behind for a while, but primarily because we want you guys to be able to pick these guitars up. If you see behind you, there's Yamaha Guitars as well behind you. There's a new wall that's in the middle of the store there, that's the Yamaha wall, which is incredible. And you can pick any of these guitars up too if you want to try them. Okay, so please hang with us for a little bit, and if you like anything, obviously talk to the Replay Guitar guys and they'll help you out. Okay, so let's see. Too much for the girl, yeah. So she's leaving her life she come to know. Says she's going back to find what's left of her world. She left behind not so long ago. Oh, leaving midnight train to Georgia, yeah. Says she's going back to find a simpler place in time. I'll be right beside her on that midnight train to Georgia, yeah. I'd rather live in her world than live without her in mine. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. So, thank you so much. Anyway, so obviously tools for different things. Fingerstyle, you could strum this as well if you want, but you know, more of a jazzy approach. But anyway, tools for things. Again, the loudest guitar you could ever have as a classical and the quietest. And I think there are attributes that you could justify as a musician, right? So the silent guitar, the SLG 200N, okay, so nylon string. Okay guys, so any questions before we wrap this up? Anything at all?
Cheryl came in late. Could you start over again?
Yeah, we'll go around it one more time. Okay, so if there are, did you have a question? No. Okay. So first of all, you know, thank you again to Replay Guitars. What an incredible store. So please give these guys a round of applause. They've stayed late for you guys too today. And thank you guys. You did an awesome job. You know, the stage setup, everything that you've been working on. I mean, it's just incredible to have this resource, right? So support these events, support the dealers, support the store. It's an incredible resource, so do that, please. I also want to thank Mandy, the Yamaha rep. Not only is she incredibly talented, but she's a lovely person, right? And I say that sincerely. I met you this afternoon. I think you're amazing. And above all, you guys for coming out, right? You don't have to come, but I'm glad you did, and I hope you take something away from this, okay? All right. Stay in touch with me if you want to, robbiecalvo.com. And again, support local music, support this local store.
Tell us about TrueFire.
Okay. I've done 22 DVDs for TrueFire, and the next one is Lick Logic, which contains some of the stuff that I talked about tonight. And so check that out. Go to TrueFire.com, and you know, obviously search me down on YouTube and stuff like that for free content. But yeah, there's some good stuff. There's a legacy of works there that I think you could benefit from if you want to. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, guys.